Hey, thanks for coming to Make and Take. When you're at the beach, you will see all the colours of the rainbow. And not just in the sky, but in the rock pools too. Today, we're joined by Tiffany, who's going to show you how to add colour to your artwork. Okay, let's get started.
We don't need a lot of equipment. You need to make sure you have a paintbrush, a pencil. You can use any old jar and fill it with water and have a paint palette. So how we're going to start off with our painting is first actually do the sketch of the general shape of our crab. So using our pencil, you want to be very light so we can easily rub out the pencil lines later. And again, just think about the shape that each part of the crab makes. And so again, I've done an oval for the main body. The pointed areas, think of as triangles. Any like rigid bits, we can think of as rectangles. And just very lightly with our pencil, we'll draw in those shapes. Now that we have the general shape of our crab, what we can do before we start painting is that if we've gone a bit hard with our pencil, that's completely fine. We're just gonna very lightly just go over our outline with the rubber. So we can still see the shape of the crab, but then also means the pencil will soon become invisible as we start painting on top of it. And then we're ready to start painting. Now the paints I'm using today are watercolour paints. I find them very easy to use and you can do so much with them. And so what we're going to do is, if we have a photo of our crab or if we're on the beach right now looking at them, we've really got to pay close attention on the light colours first. So for this lovely green shore crab, the lightest colours are very light greens and yellows. So with our paint palette, we're going to create these colours. And a tip is more water means the lighter the paint colour. So don't feel afraid to use lots of water when we're painting. And then we're going to apply it in the general area. I normally use it to actually as a base and cover all the areas that aren't white. And as you can see here, I've added quite a lot of water and it's made this very light green. And a good thing to do is always look back at your crab or your photo of the crab, whichever you're using, it doesn't matter. Just keep looking at the colours and just think about which areas are light, which areas are dark, what colours are there. Like even though it's a green shore crab, I've always found crabs with orange and blues on. So just always pay close attention. Once you've done your base layer or your base colour, you can now just work in on the details and the colours, and you can start bringing in slightly darker colours to our lovely crab. So even though we're working with colour, we still got the same thing with shade. So darker colours are obviously going to be in the darker areas, like the ridges and the segments of our lovely crab. And so we can work with that and just build up our colours. As we build up the colour, we are reminded that actually the crabs, they're again not smooth. They're quite lumpy and bumpy and have lots of imperfections. So we can also apply that with our paintbrush. So we can do some strokes and dots and little shapes so we can see the light colours underneath, but also the dark top colours can create these nice textures of our lovely shore crabs. When adding detail, you can be a lot more gentler with your brush and mainly use the tip, especially to get small details such as the spots or just smaller areas of colour. At the beginning you can be very free, you can be wishy-washy with your paintbrush, but as you get into like the darker areas, I recommend just taking your time, using the tip to just get the shapes and get the colours in the areas that are needed. If your paper gets very wet, especially when using lots of water, don't feel afraid to just let it dry for a few minutes and then come back to it later, because that means you can then keep on applying more and more layers of colour.
Wow, isn't that amazing? Now it's your turn. Head to the beach and see what you can find.